From logo-based writing that combines previous communication methods to using a series of pictures that can explain philosophical concepts, and from rudimentary paintings in caves that clearly tell stories to the famous Egyptian hieroglyphs, these are ancient communication methods actually used by civilizations. One of the fundamental cornerstones of human progression is communication. The exchange of information, signs, or words helps humans socialize, solve problems, and understand the world. Over the millennia, communication has evolved to the point where we can speak to anyone in any part of the world at the touch of a screen. But have you ever thought about how did people communicate back in ancient times? In this video, we are going to dive deep into the world of ancient communication methods. Please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you do not miss any of the intriguing videos we upload every day. So, without much ado, let's get right into it. Cave paintings. Back in 30,000 BC, during the Upper Paleolithic Age, when man lived in caves, the language was still at a rudimentary stage, involving some sounds or hand gestures. But Homo sapiens could still express themselves with cave paintings or rock art. This oldest method of communication was used to mark territories or record daily activities. Major events or religious functions were also recorded this way. Since man was primarily a hunter, most cave paintings have depictions of animals. Alphabets were yet to be invented, so the writings were in the form of pictures, signs, or symbols. Some of the best preserved figurative paintings of the world can be seen in the Chauvet caves in southeastern France. Images of rhinos and other animals could be seen on the walls and ceilings of the caves. Some other well-known examples are the cave paintings of South Sulawesi, Indonesia, and Kolibowaya Cave in Romania. China was another hotbed of early civilizations. The ancient Chinese created characters for communication. The concept of symbols, which was central to this form of communication, later gave way to speech. The amount of information these paintings held increased over centuries, and it is believed that by 13,000 BC, humans were creating calendars on walls. Writing of language could have evolved from drawing as apparent from these images. Strong evidence of the strong link between writing and drawing can be seen in two major ancient civilizations, Egypt and Greek. Have you ever seen the cave paintings in real life? Let us know in the comments below. Petroglyphs. Homo sapiens painted on rocks for 20,000 years, till about 10,000 BC, when they started learning to carve rocks. The images made by such carvings are known as petroglyphs. The word comes from the Greek prefix petro, meaning stone, and glypho, meaning carve. It was originally coined in French as Petroglyph. These engravings are found all over the world and belong to the cusp between the Upper Paleolithic and Neolithic periods. Rock carvings were used by prehistoric man to tell stories, while some graphic symbols in them depicted ideas and concepts. Record keeping and remembering things could be one of the reasons for developing this form of communication. Stones were arranged in a specific pattern, and symbols were carved on wood, earth, or rocks. Even the earliest form of tattoos are said to have originated during this period. However, after millennia of weathering, only the strongest of the carved stones have survived to tell the story of ancient man. But surprisingly, what else has survived is the culture itself. Some primitive hunter-gatherer tribes still exist in the remote and inaccessible parts of the world, like in some islands in Oceania and interiors of Africa. Observing their lifestyle and extrapolating their culture to prehistory can help us reconstruct ancient communication with a decent level of accuracy. Pictograms. Around 9,000 BC, human communication evolved to its next level with pictograms. Now, you might wonder how different were pictograms from the existing petroglyphs? Well, the latter was usually standalone pictures depicting a moment from an event, while pictograms were a series of pictures describing the chronology to tell the complete story. Think of an ancient form of a cinema reel. The pictures resembled the physical objects and are used to date in the form of computer icons, signs in public places, and others. The illustrations would represent objects, places, activities, or events, and were a kind of proto-writing that transmitted thoughts through drawing. Many ancient cultures around the world used pictograms. and the use was not just limited to telling stories or exchanging ideas, but this newly developed linguistic form found use in trade and commerce. Man learned to combine written communication with the economy by labeling basic farm produce with pictograms. By around 6000 BC, this kind of use became widespread and helped significantly in bartering goods. Pictograms were to become the basis of cuneiform and hieroglyphic form of writing, which was beginning to take shape around 5000 BC. Pictograms are the basis of modern-day Chinese and Japanese alphabets. Idiograms. The next stage of communication was idiograms. With the development of the human brain, the species were now capable of thinking about abstract things. Pictograms were used to represent mostly physical things, things that could be resembled in drawings. For example, the sun. Idiograms, on the other hand, could convey concepts and ideas like heat, light, day, and even sun god. Now, since humans as a species tend to think alike, some concepts and ideas are universal. So the figure of an eye with a tear represented sadness in all civilizations, be it Native Americans in California, the Aztecs in Mexico, or the Chinese in the Far East. Idiograms became the predecessors of the logographic writing systems that involved written words. So far, man had been drawing or carving his thoughts to communicate, but these forms had many limitations and were cumbersome. So, for example, if someone had to convey a simple message, "I killed 5 deers," they will have to first draw 5 different deers, and then comes the challenge of expressing the act of killing. So the writer will have to draw themselves holding the spear or whatever weapon they used in the act. Considering that drawing wasn't as precise as modern-day photography, the writer had to make his image identifiable enough so that people do not confuse them with something else. So they would highlight their identifiable features like, let's say, long legs, hairdo, others. These methods were frequently used by the Aztecs and Native Indians in North America. Early scripts. Once man mastered the art of idiograms, the stage was set for the first writing system. Homo sapiens' existence was no more limited to hunting and food gathering. In some parts of the world, commerce, agriculture, industry, and state of organization developed, and it needed more depth in the language in order to keep records. The first urban societies came up between the rivers Tigris and Euphrates, and the ancient Sumerians were the earliest of them. With the advent of the Bronze Age in the late 5th millennium BC, Sumerians developed cuneiform script of writing. It was a logo-based script and was used to write several languages in the region that coincides with present-day Iraq. It is characterized by wedge-shaped impressions. The logographic script is based on its predecessors, pictographic and idiographic languages. The logographic script also had a bit of syllabic and alphabetical parts that developed to make a language of their own. It was derived from a system of clay tokens used to represent commodities. It gradually evolved into a method of account-keeping, in which a round-shaped stylus was used to impress logographs on soft, wet clay. These were done at different angles, and numbers were recorded through them. Gradually, it was combined with pictographic writing, in which a sharp, instead of a round stylus, was used. Both round stylus and sharp stylus gave way to a wedge-shaped stylus, which solidified the cuneiform system. Logograms were developed to include phonetic elements by the late 3rd millennium BC. Then, cuneiform began to represent syllables of spoken Sumerian language. Eventually, cuneiform became a general-purpose writing system for syllables, logograms, and numbers. Later, other Mesopotamian languages, like the Akkadian, adopted cuneiform. Sometime later, not too far from Sumer, Egyptian civilization flourished in the Nile River Valley. Their early writing was influenced by a lot of factors, like materials available. Papyrus, the ancient form of paper, was first used in Egypt, and people developed a script that involved beautiful signs that came to be known as hieroglyphs. It combined logographic, syllabic, and alphabetic elements and had about 1,000 distinct characters. The word hieroglyphic comes from the Greek hieros, meaning sacred, and glyphein, meaning to carve. The richness of the characters was complemented by the cursive writing style. The people of Nile used cursive hieroglyphs for religious literature and important documents, recording them on papyrus and wood. They also wrote inscriptions on monuments and tombs. The script was so rich that it went on to become the basis of many modern scripts like Latin, Arabic, and Cyrillic. Indus Valley civilization also developed its script around this period, but its status as a writing system has been questioned by scholars. Meanwhile, in the Far East, the Chinese were developing their own script, independent of Middle Eastern languages. Around the 16th century BC, early Chinese writings are found written on oracle bones. It was mainly a pictographic script that represented objects linked to concepts. For example, if one had to write, "The king will be going for hunting tomorrow," they'll make the king's image holding a bow and the image of a sunrise. Similarly, the Central and South American civilizations like the Mayans developed their writing systems independently. Alphabet. The Egyptians were also responsible for developing the first alphabets around 2000 BC. Single symbols were mapped to single phonemes, or distinct units of sound. They had a set of about 22 hieroglyphs that represented syllables that begin with a single consonant of their language. An accompanying vowel was to be added by the native speaker. An elaborate grammar and a whole pronunciation guide were developed. Once alphabets came into being, language development really caught pace. And if you enjoyed this, check out this video right here about the most mysterious ancient technologies scientists still can't explain.